stories and leave the names. And so now let me introduce to you Scott Peterson. He is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Fairfax and is a co-founder of Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions, also known as FACS or FAX. Mr. Peterson is the chair of the board of directors. He also serves as the chair, of the advocacy committee. In that role, he leads a team of volunteers as they advocate for Fairfax County government and Fairfax County public schools to address climate change on a local level. He supervises FACS hubs in Arlington County, the city of Alexandria, and Loudoun County. Previously, Scott was the managing director of communications at the New York Stock Exchange and director of communications at the NASDAQ stock market. He is a graduate of the University of Southern California. He was born in Pennsylvania and is the grandson of coal miners. And so, Scott.
Well, thank you, Suzette. Thank you. One correction, I am not the chair, I am the vice chair. So other than that, I don't want to take that credit. So oh, and there's Ann Wood. So nice to see you. So in late 2021, Pope Francis, the Eastern Orthodox Church's Patriarch Bartholomew, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, declared, quote, "Today's children and teenagers will face catastrophic consequences unless we take responsibility now as fellow workers with God to sustain our world." This is a critical moment, the declaration went on to say. Our children's future and the future of our common home depend on it. So other religious leaders echoed that declaration in their own words. So, is that an exaggeration? Well, the majority of young people don't think so. A recent survey published in the medical journal The Lancet of young people 16 to 25 found that 45% worry about climate. They said that worry about climate change is affecting their daily lives and functioning. And 59% characterize themselves as extremely worried. So the greatest amount of fossil fuel pollution in history is being spewed out into our atmosphere from cars, buildings, industry, and other sources. The world faces food and water shortages, conflicts, deadly extreme weather, and other crises if the global temperature rises above 1.5 degrees centigrade, which is 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit, above pre-industrial levels. We're currently at 1.1%, and we're rising. So yesterday, you might have seen a report was issued from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. You might have seen coverage of it in the news. And that report said, quote, "In the last decade, deaths from floods, droughts, and storms were 15 times higher in highly vulnerable areas." Excuse me. Keeping warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels requires deep, rapid, and sustained greenhouse gas emission reductions in all sectors. Otherwise, heat waves, famines, infectious diseases are going to claim millions of additional lives. If we act now, said the report, we can still secure a livable, sustainable future for all. So there's this global effort underway to tackle climate change. Will it be successful? I don't know. Nonetheless, Fairfax County decided to work on the local level, joining other counties and cities and states and nations to do its part. So what will the future climate in Fairfax County look like? To answer that question, the county created Resilient Fairfax and asked that group to study the data and talk with the experts to try to predict the future. And to summarize, by 2050, there'll be more extreme heat events. Fairfax County could experience an additional month and a half of humid days above 90 degrees. So that's in 27 years. In densely urbanized areas, temperatures could be as much as 47 degrees higher than undeveloped forest areas. And these urbanized areas are often the poorest parts of our county. And precipitation is projected to increase as well, along with severe thunderstorms. So with no change, according to another analysis by Climate Central, it predicts that by 2085, which is within the lifetime of many of our young people, Fairfax County is going to have the temperature of today's Tyler, Texas. So that's according to Resilient Fairfax. So Fax began as a discussion group in my church's basement about 8 years ago. We borrowed an email list from Interfaith Power and Light and invited folks who also believe in the urgent need to address the climate crisis on the local level to come to a kickoff meeting. And 85 people showed up. We were frankly shocked. It's like, this thing has legs. And I mean, there were Methodists and Jews and Catholics and Baptists and Muslims, the whole range of religious denominations. And today we have 2,700 supporters drawn from 190 congregations throughout Northern Virginia and beyond. We have hubs with, as Suzette said, local teams in the city of Alexandria, Arlington County, Loudoun County, and of course, Fairfax County, where we started. So before I move to the next segment, I just wanted to ask, are there any questions so far? Questions, comments?
Scott, there's a question in the chat.
Okay.
It says, if we act now, need clarification as to who is we. Russia and China, two largest nations in the world, are now in conflict, war or otherwise. So this issue, wait, I lost my place. So this issue likely cannot be solved by the rest of we. Some further small group discussions with knowledge, possibly 2024 plus.
Right. So that's oftentimes an excuse for not taking action, that, oh, what are the Chinese doing? What are the Russians doing? Well, we all have to do our part. And you know, the facts are that the greatest amount of greenhouse gases have been emitted by the United States. And so we have a responsibility to take action. There's another question. You mentioned Fax. Who is that group? So impressive that 85. So Fax is Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions. That's our acronym. It's hard to always say that we're calling from Fax, or we're working with Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions. So we oftentimes refer to ourselves, and others refer to us now as Fax. Time for another question? Before I move on? All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. Is that okay, Suzette?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, wait. There we go. Okay. So in 2019, the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors appropriated funds to create the county community-wide Energy and Climate Action Plan, also referred to as CCAP. It's a terrible name, but we've come to know it and love it. So Fax and many other organizations and individuals were involved in the creation of CCAP. And rather than me explain what CCAP is all about, let's turn to Supervisor Dan Stork, who will tell you what it's all about. Now, it's kind of a long explanation, so I'm gonna pause him kind of in the middle.
Hi, I'm Dan Stork. I'm the Mount Vernon District Supervisor on the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors and the Environmental Committee Chair. It's my pleasure to speak with you a few minutes about the community-wide Climate and Energy Action Plan. This CCAP is a critical part of what the county is getting ready to implement this fall and really throughout 2023. And we need your help. To meet the goals of this community action plan, we need everybody in every sector, every area of Fairfax County to be with us, to work with us, and to be a leader in this process. We fortunately have been able to partner with the faith community and climate action folks, as well as working with you to engage us in putting together an organization and an action group that's willing to move some of these climate action improvements forward. We found Faith Alliance to be a great leadership organization. They've been very action oriented. They care much as you do and I do about Mother Earth and how, if you will, the great beyond, that we're all trying to make sure that our species and our planet, and frankly, all of the natural world can share as we move forward as a planet.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there, and I'm going to let's see if I can move on to the next one. Yes, okay. So in January of this year, the county announced that it had chosen Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions, also known by our acronym as FACS, as the lead organization to work with congregations to reduce carbon emissions. And the pilot program is called Climate Champions. To begin, the county is going to be working with both FACS and the faith community. The numbers differ, somewhere between 500 and 600 faith communities in Fairfax County, and the hospitality sector. So the idea is that we're going to provide leadership and inspiration to other parts, other sectors in the community. So if we're going to hit the greenhouse gas reduction goals that are laid out in CCAP by 2030, by 2040, by 2050, we really need to engage all sectors of the community. And it's going to be tough. The first goal is a 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. That's only 7 years from now. Kind of takes your breath away when you think about it. So we've crafted 5 campaigns targeted at different people within faith communities. Grounds, kitchen, ministries. The first is what we call solar sanctuaries. These are resilience or response hubs. They have solar and they will have solar and battery backups. And in an ideal world, you would do energy efficiency measures so that you need less or fewer panels. And we know that it's going to get hotter and it's going to get more humid. Thunderstorms and even flooding, depending upon where a congregation is located, are going to increase. So a congregation can boost its position in its community to become a resiliency hub in times of climate disruption by becoming a solar sanctuary. Elderly people and babies and many disabled people have difficulties regulating the temperature within their bodies. So a solar sanctuary could become the go-to place of refuge. It's really all about saving lives. One of the first churches we're working with is Rising Hope Mission Church. And that helps people rise above homelessness and poverty on the Route 1 corridor in Alexandria. Rising Hope also works with recent immigrants and vulnerable populations. And it is actively exploring becoming a solar sanctuary. And that is truly taking care of its vulnerable population. Now, I want to emphasize, people sometimes think that Fairfax County is a wealthy county, and it is, but not entirely. We have vulnerable communities throughout the county, as I'm sure you know. So things are going to get rougher out there, and we need to prepare. So even if your church doesn't have a ministry like Rising Hope, we would like to explore doing a solar sanctuary with you. Hey, the bottom line is solar can save money as well. And over the next 5 years, you're going to see a lot of solar everywhere in Fairfax County. This solar sanctuary is actually directly addresses 2 elements of the CCAP climate plan: increasing energy efficiency and conservation in existing buildings, and increasing production of on-site renewable energy. So the second campaign is called Creation Care Kitchens. And this is targeted at the people who volunteer by helping out in their church kitchen. It can get hot in the kitchen. And so some elements of this campaign include new HVAC heat pump systems, switching out big gas stoves in favor of induction stoves, introducing vegan options with education, and food rescue, which is an enormous help in climate. And finally, reusable coffee cups to lower our waste as well. This also directly addresses some of the elements in CCAP. The third campaign is called the Tree of Life, and it's all about the grounds of our congregations. We have 14 congregations now who are involved in our Tree of Life campaign. And this involves everything from planting more native trees and plants to getting rid of invasive species, building community gardens, composting and putting nutrients back into the soil, and sometimes reducing the size of lawns. So each of these campaigns draw interest from different congregations. Again, directly addresses some of the CCAP strategies. The fourth campaign is the Fax Transit Corps. How we get around the county. After all, not everyone can afford to drive. We have a lot of dangerous situations, as you see in the upper left-hand corner, where, and you've probably heard that there's an increase in the number of pedestrian deaths. So working on safe routes to schools and safe routes to metro are part of the Fax Transit Corps. Walking, biking, transit, not always getting around in cars. That's what this element is about. And again, a direct correlation to the CCAP plan. So finally, the final campaign is called Clean Cars. And, you know, we drive a lot in Fairfax County. And so we do need to transition to electric vehicles as soon as possible. And a lot of churches have big parking lots. That's a great place to install EV chargers. And then there's this growing interest in electric bicycles as well. So there's a lot of different ideas where we can directly answer some of the strategies in CCAP through this Clean Cars campaign. Now, all of this costs a lot of money. So let's talk about funding. The good news is there is a lot of money coming from the federal government through the climate portions of the Inflation Reduction Act and through Fairfax County's soon-to-launch Green Bank, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So the federal legislation only became law in January, so these are early days. The Internal Revenue Service actually is still writing the rules on how the funding is going to be dispersed. It's expected it's going to take at least until mid-year before those rules are out, that guidance. So we're hoping now that as many congregations as possible have shovel-ready projects ready to go, so that when the IRS drops the rules, Fax and the county, working together with the congregations, will be ready to submit grant proposals. Lastly, I'd like to, in terms of the funding, I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Fairfax County Green Bank. There are 22 green banks located across the United States, from Hawaii to Michigan to Florida, and soon, and in Montgomery County, Maryland. Soon there will be a green bank in Fairfax County. So a green bank is not your traditional kind of bank. It doesn't take deposits from individuals. think of it as basically a facilitator that helps to, it works with traditionally conservative banks and credit unions and people in the community and different groups that may not have the credit that a bank would normally provide a loan to. And so a green bank is essentially puts those two groups together, the banks and the credit unions, and the projects which need to be funded in the county, and help to facilitate all of that. Now you can see that there's a big role for green banks, and it's coming. Fairfax County started this, I think, 3 years ago. They had to get approval from the state government in Richmond in order to get a green bank started. And as you can see right here, that they expect to actually launch the green bank in this summer. So it's coming, and it will also provide funding for congregations. So our executive director, Andrea McGimsey, has been holding these monthly faith pilot meetings on different subjects. We just had this one on Tree of Life, and it was, like I said, extremely successful. There's 14 congregations that signed up. A previous one was on solar sanctuaries, and they'll be every month in order to dive deeper into each of these subjects. So lastly, I'd just like to thank you for hanging in there with me. My ask of you, really, for those of you who are here today, is to consider introducing these ideas to your congregation. Fax Executive Director Andrea McGimsey is available to explain to your congregation how you could become involved. There's no cost involved in the exploration, and we can put your congregation in touch with other congregations who are farther down the road. The more churches and synagogues and mosques we have involved, the better we'll be prepared when the federal funding opportunities arrive. So I know Suzette's going to share the email, but I'll just tell you right now, there's 2 ways you can become involved. Simply drop an email to info@faithforclimate.org, or just search on Google for Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions, and you'll see a link in which you can join our email list, and that will sign you up for our monthly newsletter, which is just loaded with all kinds of information.
Scott, did you say info@faithforclimate.org?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll put it in the chat, sorry.
So I'm ready. I'm ready for questions.
There was a question, will you be in the chat if you'll be giving out the slide deck? Will you send me the slide deck to
Yes.
send out?
Yes, I will. I will.
And then, sorry. And if you can stop sharing so I can see.
Oh,
To see if anyone has a question. And then there's one more question in the chat. This is from earlier. Not sure what is action for USA. For example, in Virginia, dominant utility is Dominion Energy. What can you tell us about cooperation with Dominion Energy and other nearby, for example, serving our mid-Atlantic geography. And then Ari, did you want to explain that a little bit?
Well, I can respond to that, I think, unless Avi wants to break in. So Dominion has changed a lot over the last few years. Previously, it had been opposed to renewable energy in general. But during the 2020-21 session of the state legislature, several important bills were passed that became law. And one of them is the Virginia Clean Economy Act, which Dominion was a party to. And Dominion now is not only building wind turbines off the coast of Virginia to supply energy to Virginia, but it's also going solar. And so how that actually fits into the plan with Fairfax County and Fax, well, I'm not sure it really does.
Okay, thank you. Then we have another question. Our congregation is doing things in the category Tree of Life. Is there funding?
Well, as I said, the federal funding is the legislation the federal law just became law on January 1st. So we're, it's very early days. But part of what is in the Tree of Life does not necessarily require funding. So I would urge you to contact Andrea at info@faithforclimate.org and find out more directly from her as to how you can become involved with other congregations that are actively pursuing these opportunities.
Okay, thank you. And then there's another question from Sue saying that question was from Peace Lutheran. Another question is, what kind of shovel-ready projects did you mean that may be eligible for grants?
Solar sanctuaries, and then clean cars. There will be money available for EV charging, and solar as well.
And so I have a question for the funding that is going to be given out. So for some of our smaller congregations that aren't, they don't have people to write grants, they're not, they don't have experience writing grants. Does your organization do anything to help people be able to access the money that's out there?
Yes, working with Fairfax County.
Okay. Okay.
But of course, we don't know yet what the details are of the money because we were waiting for the IRS to give the guidance.
Right.
But we do expect that, and it's going to be coming soon. So that's why we want to get as ready as we can now.
Are there any more questions from people?
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
It's going to take someone from a congregation to be dedicated to working with the project, it seems to me. And that's going to be the tough nut to crack. Because right now the churches are facing, and I suspect it also the mosques. I work with an interfaith group, and all the houses of worship are having trouble with funding, with recruiting younger people. So it's really going to take, I'm thinking maybe a pilot project that gets the funding rather than trying to get as many congregations as possible to try something and maybe setting them up for failure. If we could pool funding, maybe, in the county, I mean, we have Mason District and we have Mount Vernon and all the different districts. Maybe if we tried funding for, one pilot in each.
In each magisterial district.
Yeah. Or depending on the projects, they might be so expensive that you'd have to have a couple of districts working together. I worked on some renewable energy, but mainly conservation with DOE funding and interior funding out in the South Pacific. And that was a much easier thing to do because we set up on each island, like American Samoa, we set up a group of leaders in energy, the one bank, the tuna cannery, the school system. And they said, okay, I'll take a piece, I'll take this piece of it, I'll take that piece of it. And it's very easy to say we've got 6 high schools that we will seal the windows and, so that we don't have to run the air conditioning 24 hours a day. But how many schools do we have? If we get into projects like that, it's really, it's going to take a lot of people thinking creatively, being able to work together. So I don't know, maybe one of the things to think about, what we did there was we picked the low-hanging fruit first. So maybe that's something for people to consider. I think it's a good idea for people to think about getting, get some people who know how to write grants.
Well, luckily we have those in the county.
Yeah.
And so, with Faith Alliance and the county working together in partnership, it is something that that the funds are going to become available. And so we just have to, we already have a small but growing number of faith communities who are interested in each one of these campaigns. And we'll build from there. We're certainly not going to get 100 the first year. But if we could actually get 15 the first year, that would be a tremendous success and build on it from there.
15 projects, you mean?
If we could get 15 different congregations who were
okay.
involved in, let's say solar sanctuaries. We actually have over 10 congregations who are actively pursuing this now, but they're not all in Fairfax County. There's one in Winchester. There's one in Prince William. So, but what we're focusing on right here is Fairfax County.
Yeah. How much money ballpark will be available for grants?
Well, the money is coming from all kinds of different sources. So most of it is coming from the Environmental Protection Agency. But there's also some money that Fax just got a $5,000 grant from the Department of Energy, which was a planning grant. Then there's money from the Highway Administration. So, I mean, it's coming from all sorts of different sources. But in terms of there's also going to be a national green bank, and that's $45 billion. So there's huge sums that are coming, and that's why we're trying to get as many congregations involved with projects that are, you know, maybe not, as they call it, shovel ready, but at least down the road that we can make some real progress here.
I see Phyllis has her hand up, and then I'm going to get to some of the questions in the chat.
Oh, good. More questions. All right.
Phyllis.
Well, I guess my, excuse me, my comment is that working with individual congregations takes a lot heavier lifting than if you're working either by district, like, I come from a Methodist church, but we have a district conference where you might work with that group to provide a project that is for all the churches in that district. And just knowing, I used to work with EPA, so knowing the grant process, if you think of, rather than thinking I want 15 congregations, you might want 15 projects, and you might have 10 congregations under each project. And I think it would be a lot easier for people to say, I'm interested, because then they don't think, oh, I'm from a little church and we're going to have to do the grant and then manage the grant. And given the amount of money, it is a huge amount of money that's coming out for all, you know, from EPA and from other agencies. But that may just be some way to think of how to congregate. Like when I was with the EPA, we did state grants, but they went to different organizations within the state, but they didn't all come into EPA for an individual piece of it. It was done, you know, by the state, in this case, perhaps by Fairfax County, or working with the church's district. I don't know how different churches are organized, but certainly the Methodists have a Northern Virginia district that covers like Arlington and Fairfax.
So, you know, the idea of having, you know, different pilot faith communities in each magisterial district sounds good. The problem is you've got to have someone, you know, raise their hand. I want to show you a list of the congregations that are involved right now with the Tree of Life campaign. They're from all over Fairfax County. So, you know, I think that if this is something that, you know, you're interested in at least exploring, contact Andrea McGimsey, our executive director. And as well, you know, she's hosting these monthly dialogues on different subjects, so we can dig down a little bit deeper.
Okay, I will get to the questions in the chat. What is involved in a charging station?
Oh, okay. I think that's Anna Wood's question.
Yeah.
So in order to charge your electric vehicle, and by the way, I think most of us here are aware, but in case you're not, there is going to be a tidal wave of electric vehicles coming from the automobile manufacturers in the next few years. GM and Ford, as well as many others are making a major push in terms of electric vehicles. So the question is, how do you charge them? Well, that's easy enough if you have a single family home. But what do you do if you live in a multifamily dwelling, an apartment building? That's something that the county is pursuing right now, and something that's called Charge Up Fairfax. But congregations can become involved in this as well by installing EV chargers in their church parking lot, so that while they're in the service or while they're doing whatever they can be charging their homes. This is part of that Clean Cars campaign, and Andrea can tell you more about that, Ann.
And did that answer your question?
This would require some solar panels, right?
No, not necessarily. No, no, it would need an electrical connection. The holy grail is to connect your EV charger to your solar panels, and so that way your car is being charged by the sun. But you don't necessarily have to have solar panels in order to connect an EV charger.
I guess that's my vision, is to have solar panels with a charging station. And is that feasible, say, in a parking lot?
Well, I mean, so I was just in Tucson, where they had solar canopies. They did not have the next step, which was to be able to charge your car from the solar canopy. But all of this is kind of early days in figuring out how this is all going to work. But you don't necessarily have to have solar panels in order to install a EV charging station or multiple EV charging stations in your church parking lot.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
The next question or comment, in order to give a boost to solar energy production by community entities, it is important to revisit the net metering law here in Virginia. As I remember, net metering is legal so that small power generation can put energy to the Dominion distribution grid. But most people do not know about the value of net metering benefit to boost solar and other renewable energy as well. Who would be a good, I've lost the question, sorry. Who would be a good net metering coordinator at Fairfax County?
Okay, so first of all, in terms of the solar sanctuaries, what we're talking about is solar panels with battery backups. And so that way, you're not necessarily talking about net metering, but net metering is something that I don't have the technical answer for that.
So Fax extends beyond Fairfax County. What is your geographic area?
Well, that's one of the easier questions. Thank you for that. Whoever.
That was Cara from the NAACP.
Thank you, Cara. We have a fax hub in Montgomery County, Maryland. We have a new hub in the northern Shenandoah Valley. And then we have our hubs in Northern Virginia.
So it's kind of a DC metro.
Our
It's not
focus,
like nationwide, it's right here.
oh,
for
no,
right for
no,
now.
no, no. Our
Yeah.
focus really is on Northern Virginia.
Okay. I had another question too about the charging stations. Is the idea that just for when the congregants are attending their church, or is it for the community? So that anyone could come charge their car there? And if it's not for that, then how would you prevent the community, if you didn't want the whole community filling up your parking lot to charge their cars? I'm just wondering if that's an issue at all, or if that's part of the purpose is to promote, electrical cars and let anyone come charge. I don't know.
Someone is gonna have to pay for that.
Right.
Unless it's hooked up to a solar panel. So there will have to be some kind of a in any of these EV charging systems, there is a system in which you have to pay.
Oh, okay. So maybe they could set up some sort of thing, and then who they don't want. I see what you're saying. You could even have people have a code so they don't have to pay, or just pay. So I see.
Well, I don't think
I've
that
never charged a car, so I don't know.
right. I don't think that the congregation necessarily would pay for all of its congregants to charge their cars. It's the same thing. You go to Target and there are EV chargers there. Target's not paying for that. What you are paying for that.
Oh, so all those stations, like say at Sheets, people park their car, plug it in, and they pay for a charge.
Oh, yeah.
Is what you're saying.
That's
Oh,
right.
okay.
That's right.
That shows how ignorant I am of how to charge a car.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
news to me as well. I
Thank
thought
you.
they just plugged up for free.
I never thought about it either.
Me either. I thought you could just plug up and get your electricity and go
No.
on. So that is,
No, unfortunately not. Few things are for free in this world.
And my sense is you would use a credit card,
That's right.
same way you do on some streets where they have parking charges and so
That's
on.
right.
Yeah.
A debit card. Yes, exactly.
thank you for that question, Carl. That was good. Okay, so we have one more comment. It says new idea. A model congregation, Warrington VA Sikh Gurdwara, is that how you pronounce it, with whom I'm intimately familiar, has already done things to increase efficiency of their existing system by installing efficiency, lighting, improving heating system with heat pump, and also other small projects that can be done to increase efficiency and reduce monthly energy costs while increasing safety of congregation members as well as their community service. Anyone who is interested in learning more of how and what to do, most welcome to send me an email via POC. I will be glad to provide introduction to Warrington Sikh Gurdwara for a personal visit, perhaps during their community meal on Sundays once a month, or a visit to actually see what amazing things they have come up with contact persons. And this again is from Avi Day as well. Avi, do you want to put your contact information in the chat so that people can have it?
Sure, that's one of the great things about this entire movement is that people can learn from each other. Congregations can learn from each other, and this is one good example of how that can happen.
Yes, okay, so he put his email in the chat to anyone that would like to connect. Are there any other questions or comments for Scott?
Oh, Doris has one.
Unmute yourself.
In regard to the charging stations, I'm no expert on them. The last 2 years, I was chair of the Environment Committee at Green Spring. And we brought up the issue of charging stations because we wanted to have more charging stations here at Green Spring.
Mhm.
And when they were putting in a new parking garage, they did put two charging stations in. We wanted more. What we were told, and you don't know how much to really believe, but they told us it would be quite expensive to put charging stations into like an existing parking lot, because you'd have to rip up all the cement and everything and put the, the electrical, cords or wires underneath and the whole bit.
Mhm.
And we couldn't convince them to do that. We were very sad about that, and we were wondering if we should really believe them, but they had the power and we didn't. And also somebody on the committee who was a MIT engineer said that somebody's developed a charging station where it has a solar panel right on top of it. I don't know that it's on the market yet, but somebody's working on it.
Yeah, that's an interesting problem. I don't know what the answer to that is. So remember that the climate portion of the Inflation Reduction Act just became law on January 1st. This is going to be this law is scheduled to last at least 10 years. The fundings and the grant credits are going to be around for at least 10 years. As a matter of fact, I understand if the total allocation is not used in 10 years, then it goes into 11 years. So we're just in the early days of this. And as this proceeds, we're going to learn more and more about how we actually make this. This is a tremendous transition. But Fairfax County, Faith Alliance for Climate Solutions is working together to try to find the answers for congregations. As I mentioned earlier in my presentation, that the hospitality sector is also working on this for hotels and motels. So the exciting part about this in terms of congregations is that it's, it's not just the congregation itself, it's the members. So as we move forward and help the physical structures, the buildings of each congregation make this transition, then the people in the congregations as well will be influenced. So it's an exciting time. It's somewhat of an overwhelming time. But if you are interested, I urge you to become involved in these monthly deep dive sessions that Fax Executive Director Andrea McGimsey is holding to learn more.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments? Doris?
In terms of the funding, first of all, it said the tax credits come from the IRS, but I think churches don't have to pay taxes to IRS, so I didn't understand that.
Right. Well, let me answer that. There is a direct payment from the federal government, so that even though even if a church doesn't pay taxes, it will be reimbursed directly with federal funds.
Okay, and we talk about this money that's available through the Inflation Reduction Act, and anyway, I'm wondering how much money, if the church comes up with a project, how much are they going to have to pay, and how much can they get as a grant? Like, what will be the financial burden on the church?
And that's a question for Andrea.
And let me just say, Scott didn't say this, but the reason, the person he keeps mentioning isn't here is because it is the night that their board meets. And so he was the lucky and gracious one who, came to speak to us. But they have their meetings the exact same time that FCIA meets.
Right, so I'm the fill-in for Andrea.
Thank you.
Because she is because she is at our Faith Lines for Climate Solutions board meeting, which is happening right now.
Yes. Are there any other questions?
Okay, now how do we spell her name exactly?
Yeah,
Let me put that in the chat.
Okay,
yeah, I think it would really be important to get the contact information, the basics
Sure.
for all of us. Her name and her contact information. And I can see already, we've got 3 ACA churches, the 3 ACA churches who work together on so many things are represented here, and
So Scott, I see you put the link in the chat that was already put in there. Do they just email that, or do they need to specifically say this message is for Andrea?
No, she monitors that email address every day.
Okay. So that's her email address, really.
Right.
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Sue. Sue is waving.
I just wanted to say thank you because I certainly have gotten a lot of very useful information. I know we've been quite involved. My church has been quite involved in environmental things. We have solar panels, for example, and it's reduced our electric bill a great deal. I can encourage you all to study that for your congregation. I think it's a step that scared us, and it's really been valuable. And I just wanted to say thanks to Scott for coming, because I wrote down a lot of stuff. I'm going to write.
What is your congregation, Sue?
Peace Lutheran. I'm sure
Oh.
you know Pastor Sarah Scherschlich.
Of
Yeah.
course, she's on our board.
Yes.
She's a wonderful person. Yes.
Maybe one of the reasons we've been so active.
Yeah. Yes.
Any other comments or questions? Scott, do you have anything to say before we wrap up? I have some announcements at the end, so everyone stay on the line.
Thank you so much for spending time with me.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Yes.
thank you.
So if I'm going to stop the recording.